and joining a damn football team. Now, we heard earlier that Jimmy Haslam don't give a damn. He's willing to go into a bidding war to potentially get the Super Bowl winning coach.
Okay. $20 million a year.
Now, with that being said, reports was coming out this week that John Harbaugh is set to make interviews, and one interview is especially standing out because it's from the Cleveland Browns.
Not a problem.
Not a problem.
Mary Kay Cabot and many others have been reporting that John Harbaugh will be coming to Cleveland this week at some point.
Rumors around John Harbaugh's future have been stacking up for weeks, and now he's finally addressing it head on. There's nothing vague about the way this is moving anymore. This feels like a real turning point for Harbaugh, not just noise or background chatter. The situation is tightening, and people around the league can feel it. The Browns are no longer just a name being floated in whispers. They're being talked about seriously, and that's a major shift. When ownership stops dragging its feet and starts showing urgency, coaches across the league take notice. Jimmy Haslam has made it clear he's willing to spend and swing big if the right coach is available, and that kind of energy changes the room fast. If you're John Harbaugh and you see a franchise finally acting like it wants to win now, you have to pause and think.
Pressers, you see these commentators speaking about John Harbaugh. He is the hottest thing in all of the NFL, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be legendary if he can somehow figure out a way to become Shedeur Sanders' coach. Now, it goes on to say John Harbaugh makes a call that may kill the Browns' pursuit. That probably means ASIN manager Andrew Berry. Now, Andrew Berry still appears in the driver's seat. Now, we all know that, right? That doesn't seem likely for multiple reasons. The first is that Browns fired former head coach Kevin Stefanski, which we already know. Now, however, the question of Berry's job and the power he holds organizationally because of it could prove the difference between the Cleveland can truly get in the game of Harbaugh, whether the franchise will watch from the sideline as other teams fight for his service.
How often does a job open up where the mindset is clearly shifting in real time? Around the league, people still see Harbaugh as the top name out there, and that reputation didn't come out of nowhere. Cleveland isn't just another stop on the coaching map. This would be a real build, especially if Shedeur is part of the long-term vision. Shedeur doesn't need chaos or mixed signals. He needs structure, accountability, and someone who knows how to develop talent the right way. That's where Harbaugh fits clean. This isn't about chasing headlines. It's about putting a young quarterback in a position where growth actually sticks. So the real question becomes simple. Why walk away from a chance to shape Shedeur's future the right way, especially when you wanted him before? At the same time, Cleveland always comes with layers. The front office situation matters, and Andrew Berry's influence is still real. Power and control are part of the conversation whether people admit it or not. Harbaugh will need clarity on whether he can truly lead or if there are limits, and now it's on the Browns to decide what kind of franchise they want to be. Sit back again, or step forward and take a real swing. Because John Harbaugh in Cleveland isn't just about stacking wins. It's about giving Shedeur stability, belief, and a clear direction forward. Everything now circles back to one core decision. Does John Harbaugh want to be the guy who finally rewrites what Cleveland football stands for? This is the moment where talk turns into action. The Browns didn't stay quiet, they made their move, and what followed from Harbaugh added real weight to the situation. This process has gotten crowded fast, and that says a lot about Harbaugh's value.
The Cleveland Browns has officially extended an interview request to John Harbaugh representation. Whether the franchise will even get a chance to pitch the former Baltimore Ravens head coach remains an open question. Now, a total of 7 teams other than the Ravens currently have coaching vacancies, including the Browns. ESPN Adam Schefter reported earlier this week that 7 teams have reached out to Harbaugh agent within 45 minutes. Now, on Saturday, January the 10th, Harbaugh made a revelation that is sure to prove bad news for roughly half of his offseason suitors. Harbaugh told Fox, this is what he told Fox, that a number of teams have reached out to him since he was fired by the Baltimore Ravens last Tuesday, but he plans to pick around 3 or 4 teams before he starts talking to ESPN.
Cleveland stepping in early sends a signal. It shows intent, not hesitation. They didn't wait for the market to settle or for someone else to blink first. But they also know they're not alone in this race. When a coach with Harbaugh's track record is available, interest spreads quickly and options multiply. That kind of attention shifts the balance of power. Harbaugh isn't chasing a job. Teams are lining up to pitch their vision. For Cleveland, that means being honest about what they are building and how serious they really are. When Harbaugh weighs his choices, it comes down to more than comfort. It's about where his voice matters and where his presence actually changes outcomes. That's where Cleveland separates itself. This roster isn't looking for a temporary fix or another short run. They want structure, leadership, and a clear quarterback direction. If Shedeur is part of the long-term picture, then this decision carries real stakes. He needs a coach who keeps things steady, blocks out distractions, and sets standards early without confusion. Harbaugh has a history of guiding young talent and earning trust the hard way. Cleveland gives him something rare, a chance to mold a quarterback's path while also resetting the identity of a franchise that's been searching for stability for years. One detail matters more than anything else right now. John Harbaugh isn't talking to everyone. He's picking his spots, and that alone changes the entire power dynamic.
I talked to a league insider who speculates on what he's heard about Harbaugh's prerequisites to even be interested in your job.
Okay.
Okay. $20 million a year.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. $10 million assistant coach budget.
Not a problem.
Okay. Total authority over the roster. And also would like to select his own guy to lean on, personnel guy.
Okay, so would he be making the draft picks? Like, you're going to ask this guy? That kind of makes me feel uneasy. Does he want more say over the roster than what he had in Baltimore?
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
Which would be a total change in the structure here. I think there are 4 definite candidates for Harbaugh to end up with. Cleveland now is, I think, 4th.
When a coach limits who gets access, it means he's chasing fit, not a paycheck. This is where Cleveland either becomes relevant or fades out of the conversation. Vision matters here, and so does proof of real support. If the Browns can show Harbaugh that he'll have backing, influence, and the chance to guide Shedeur the right way, then they deserve a spot on that short list. This isn't about splashy headlines or winning the offseason. It's about choosing a place where leadership actually changes results. If Harbaugh is thinking about legacy, Cleveland quietly checks more boxes than people admit. Right now, Harbaugh isn't chasing teams. He's deciding who even gets an audience. He's moving at his own speed, and that tells you everything. There's no rush, no panic, no reaction to outside noise. Taking time, even stepping back for a weekend, shows confidence that only comes with experience. At this stage, every move is about alignment, not hype. Calls can come in, rumors can fly, but none of that forces his hand. The pressure has shifted completely. It's not on Harbaugh anymore. It's on the teams trying to impress him. When someone knows they don't need the job, they start asking real questions. And what stands out is how little the usual selling points matter now. Big markets, flashy rosters, and loud buzz aren't leading this conversation. Harbaugh is looking past all of that. He's focused on control, trust, and direction. He wants to know who listens, who backs him up, and who stays out of the way once decisions are made. That's why this choice carries so much weight. He's not just picking a logo, he's picking an environment. When a coach gets this selective, it's a clear sign he's not thinking season to season. He's thinking years ahead, daily workflow, and long-term structure. The biggest takeaway is simple. Harbaugh holds the leverage. These interviews aren't tryouts for him. They're conversations. His resume already speaks for itself. Teams know exactly who they're dealing with, which is why this process feels different. When Harbaugh walks into a room, he isn't proving anything. He's deciding whether the situation deserves his time and energy. That level of control changes everything. And for people watching this play out, the real question isn't who wants John Harbaugh. It's which team is actually ready to be chosen. Behind the scenes, there are clear expectations, and not every franchise is prepared to meet them. According to Tony Grassi's reporting, Harbaugh's demands are serious, and they should be. He's not just looking for a big contract. He's asking for real authority. That includes salary, full support for his staff, a strong assistant budget, and most importantly, control over the roster. He wants a say in who comes in, who leaves, and how the team is built. For a coach with his track record, that's not ego, that's standard. This kind of freedom is exactly what a young quarterback like Shedeur needs. He doesn't need constant change or mixed messaging. He needs a coach who can shape the roster around him and build the right environment for growth. Harbaugh understands that responsibility, and his demands reflect it. The idea that Harbaugh wants more influence over personnel decisions, even more than he had in Baltimore, signals a real shift. If he lands somewhere that can't offer that level of control, it won't last. Not for him, and not for the team trying to build something real. This is where Cleveland has a chance to separate itself. If the Browns are willing to say yes, to trust Harbaugh fully, and give him the authority to build the team his way, then this becomes more than a hire. It becomes a commitment to Shedeur's future and long-term stability as a franchise. Tony Grossi currently lists Cleveland behind Miami, New York, and Atlanta. But rankings don't tell the full story. For Harbaugh, this isn't about market size or who looks best on paper today. It's about fit and control. Cleveland can still win this if they're willing to offer what others might hesitate to give, full trust. If the Browns make that message clear, they don't need to top the list. They just need to be the right choice. Harbaugh's demands make one thing obvious. He's serious about what comes next. And Cleveland could be the place where both he and Shedeur finally get the structure they need to succeed. Another layer to this situation is timing, and timing matters more than people realize. The Browns are sitting at a crossroads and they know it. Waiting too long doesn't just risk losing Harbaugh, it risks sending the wrong message about seriousness. Coaches at this level read between the lines. Silence looks like uncertainty. Cleveland has spent years trying to convince the league it's stable. This is one of those moments where words don't matter anymore. Action does. Harbaugh doesn't need to be sold on history or fan passion. He's looking at structure, decision-making, and whether the organization knows who it wants to be moving forward. If the Browns hesitate now, it reinforces old doubts. If they move with clarity, it signals growth. That's the difference. This isn't about desperation. It's about confidence. Strong franchises don't wait for permission to lead. They step forward and own the moment. For Harbaugh, timing reveals intent, and Cleveland has a narrow window to show they understand that. There's also the locker room angle that doesn't get talked about enough. Players pay attention to how these situations unfold. When a team targets a coach like Harbaugh, it sends a signal that standards are about to change. Accountability gets real fast when someone with his reputation walks in. Veterans respect coaches who've been through real battles. Young players listen more closely when leadership feels earned, not forced. That's where Harbaugh carries weight. His presence alone shifts how a building operates day to day, from practice habits to preparation to expectations. For a young quarterback like Shedeur, that environment matters. Growth doesn't happen in chaos or confusion. It happens when the message is clear and consistent. A coach who commands respect without yelling creates stability, and stability is what developing players need most. Cleveland has a chance to reset the tone inside the building, not just on the field. That's bigger than one season. One thing is clear behind the scenes. This decision isn't being rushed by emotion. Harbaugh is evaluating how his daily work life would look, not just Sundays. That includes communication with the front office, how disagreements are handled, and whether his voice actually carries weight. Some teams promise collaboration but deliver resistance. Experienced coaches spot that quickly. That's why Harbaugh's questions are direct and detailed. He's not interested in surface-level answers. He wants to know how problems get solved when things go sideways. Cleveland has to be honest with itself here. If they want a strong leader, they have to be ready to give room to lead. That means trust during rough stretches, not just when things look good. This isn't a popularity contest, it's a long-term partnership, and the teams that understand that are the ones still standing at the end of this process. This saga ends with a simple reality. John Harbaugh isn't searching for validation or leverage. He's deciding where his work will actually matter.
He said he was using the weekend to evaluate his options. So we had yesterday and we got today. Now it goes on to say the New York Giants, Atlanta Falcons, and Miami Dolphins are all among the top candidates to land Harbaugh per balance of NFL analysts. Now it goes on to say, however, Harbaugh is going to consider more factors than market size and current roster when deciding whom to interview with and ultimately which teams he will coach. So that means that none other than Jim Harbaugh is going to pick where he go. He get to make the final say in where he go. There's no question that any team could hire John Harbaugh. He's going to be the yay or nay about him coming to a potential team. This is major information because he could walk into an interview and pretty much get.
That's what separates this moment from every rumor cycle before it. The control has shifted, and everyone involved knows it. Cleveland now faces a clear choice. Either step forward with conviction or repeat the same hesitation that's defined past failures. Harbaugh represents structure, clarity, and standards that don't bend when things get uncomfortable. If the Browns are ready for that, this becomes more than a hire. It becomes a reset. For Shedeur, the ripple effect is massive. Stability at the top creates confidence on the field. A steady voice can change development, mindset, and trajectory. This decision won't just shape next season, it will define the next chapter. The league is watching, but the timeline belongs to Harbaugh. He's choosing the environment that matches his expectations, not the loudest pitch. If you want insight like this without the noise, deeper context that actually connects the dots, that's exactly what Huddle Files delivers. That's where the real story always lives. And you already know, we'll have every second of it broken down. Every twist, every leak, every hidden play behind the headlines. So like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share it out. Stay locked in with Huddle Files, where the real NFL stories live.